Wrath of Man is a story of revenge based around the cash truck business in Los Angeles. And Jason Statham plays H, who is on a tear of vengeance to find the killers of his innocent son, who was by accident caught up in a robbery. He was a witness at a violent cash truck robbery. Unbeknownst to the robbers that Jason Statham is a crime lord himself, so he's very qualified to find the culprits involved in this heinous and unfortunate accident. There are few subjects as sensitive as the unpalatable concept of a child dying before the parent. It's even worse when a child is murdered, when an innocent child is murdered. But when the father happens to be a killer himself, it inspires all sorts of empathetic vengeance that anyone can relate to. Not necessarily for the right reasons, but one can't help but feel very emotionally charged about that particular theme. So we deal with the themes of vengeance, visceral vengeance, understandable, empathetic vengeance, which is unpalatable in any capacity. However, you can empathize and sympathize for the reasons why one would be so emotionally charged. Theft, greed, wrath, sons, fathers, blood thicker than water. Ultimately, greed being the genesis of destruction, and almost anticlimactically the fulcrum upon which such biblical vengeance is exercised in order to satiate the loss of one's kin. This film's more violent, more gritty, and arguably more realistic than any of my other films have previously been. I've always been very keen on Jason Statham as an actor. In fact, I was the first person to use Jason Statham as an actor. I think the first thing I used him was in Lock, Stock and Two Smoking Barrels. We opened the film on Jason. I always thought that Jason Statham should be a movie star. I'm very happy to see that he has become one. And it feels like we should be reunited. And I felt as though we should do something that wasn't funny for a change. I thought this would be the perfect story for Jason and I to be reunited on. It's not funny, this film. It's serious, and the theme is serious, and it's very violent and very aggressive. But I thought it'd be the perfect film for the perfect role for Jason to occupy. When it came to getting Jason to be in this film, it was as simple as calling him up and giving him a 2-minute pitch on what that film was. Neither of us overthunk it at the time. We liked the premise. The premise of the movie could be summarized in a sentence. Jason, I always felt, was perfect for this particular film, and I'm a big fan of his. And he's gone on and become incredibly successful. And I feel as though this film is really a question of selling apples, and you're actually buying apples. So it does what it says on the tin, this film, which is Jason Statham in revenge, in an intelligent genre movie, which its spine and motivation is that of revenge, intelligent revenge, and understandable revenge. Yeah, Jason and I have been mates for about 22 years, and I think we're probably closer now than we were 22 years ago, and I was pretty close with him 22 years ago. He's been on his journey, I've been on mine. He's moved back to, we both lived in Los Angeles I lived there for 7 years, he lived there for 10. and we've both found ourselves back in London. I see more of him now than I have done for 15 years or so, which is great. Yeah, he's one of my best mates. There's much I respect and like about Jason Statham. There's, yeah, I see more of Jason now than I have done for 15 years. We're closer now than we were 22 years ago. I think we're on to make another movie shortly. I think, by the way, he doesn't look like his age today, which is the other strange thing. I don't know what he's up to, but yeah, he's still in great physical nick. He has a happy life, a happy family life. There's a lot that Jason's managed to juggle in his life very skillfully, with great wisdom. Jason has wisdom, funnily enough. But I really respect him as both as an actor and a human being. Jason and I think we've had the same relationship for 22 years. We've known each other, and I find it mutually respectful. Always has been. Obviously, I'm the best chess player, and I can do more press-ups than Jason, which he finds embarrassing, as he should. On chess, he obviously loses, and has done for years. There is photographic evidence to support me on that. Yeah, I mean, obviously, over the last 22 years, there's a couple of games he's won. They're usually charity to keep him inspired and not lose the will to live on set. Now, his chess actually is quite intuitive and, as you can imagine, aggressive. So, no, but he doesn't really stand a chance on the chessboard. Where he does stand a chance is in the pool, right? He can swim rather well, Jason. He can stay underwater for quite a long time. Press-ups he's all right on. Yeah, but I don't like competing with him under the water. Jason I've been competing with physically and intellectually for 22 years, and where I can't get into trouble is underwater with Jason. But the other thing is that he's talk about positive competition. I've never really minded, and I don't really want him to know this because I pretend that I do mind, but I've never really minded losing to him. In the 2 occasions out of several thousand that we've competed with, that the couple of times where he has won, it's not really bothered me that much. There's no competition when it comes to cooking or grilling. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's an amateur when it comes to grilling. We've got a great ensemble cast. We've got Josh Hartnett, Scott Eastwood, Annie Garcia, Robert Delaney, Eddie Marzan, Holt McCallany, Jeffrey Donovan, Niamh Algar. I really enjoyed working with all of these guys. And they're all very respectful and all very professional. I could tell you about Post Malone in the sense that he's the loveliest man I've ever met that you can imagine. He has fantastic manners, incidentally. He's incredibly polite, very professional, turns up on time, is prepared to work overtime, doesn't complain, is, as it transpires, very talented in many ways, and honestly was a breath of enthusiastic fresh air to everyone on the set. And when Posty left, everyone was awed by the generosity of his spirit. I think some actors find my process at the beginning a bit unnerving. The only reason I know that is because I'm told that afterward. But you know, what we try to do is create a roadmap, which is not too definitive, although initially it's definitive, and then from that I try with the actors on the day to improve the dialogue or the plot on the day as much as we can, and in my experience that usually improves by at least 50%. But what it can do is it can trip up an actor if they've got a significant amount of dialogue to learn. But I'm afraid once you're in the situation, that situation will inform some form of evolution improvement on the script, and that makes it more challenging on the actor because the actor has to start to learn those lines quickly, keeps them on their toes, but it can be unnerving. I think there are so many components within a film that you can afford to be creative, and I think that credit sequences are worth spending time on and are worth investing some creative whatever. Yeah, I mean, there are so many different ways in which you can be creative in a film, and I just think credit sequences is just another opportunity into which exercise your creativity. So I think we've got quite a good credit sequence within this equation. And what we try to do is, rather than putting a needle drop or a familiar song over the credit sequence, because it seemed to take us out of the movie, although there's a logical fit to putting a source track, to putting a needle drop on over the credit sequence, we decided to go for score on the credit sequence, which sets the tone for the rest of the film. Although it's not a traditional needle drop, I felt as though it was honest to the theme of the film. The credit sequence was modelled on the fact that we call Wrath of Man, which is a biblical quote, and the demonic and angelic imagery and symbolism that comes from a biblical theme. I felt as though the credit sequence could have just been about the symbolism of biblical iconography and symbolism, but we sort of mix that up with imagery from the film as well.